Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Fabric Coffee session at Microsoft Fabric Café. My name is Merdat, the community lead and the founder of this great community. I'm super excited to be here with another, amazing session with another amazing speaker. So, in the meantime, feel free to say hi. Let's just see who is joined to us today. And I'm gonna just as usual, I'm gonna share my screen and share some slides with you. Cool. Today, June 13 at 6 p.m. in Pacific time in Vancouver. Cloudy, not rainy. No, we had some great sunny days in the past week, but again, it is again cloudy. But the number, the Fabric Copy session number 36. We're almost getting to celebrate our anniversary in, Microsoft Fabric Cafe, which is part of the Microsoft Learn community, the tech community of Microsoft Learn. Actually, we are a group in the learning groups of Microsoft Learn community that you can just join, and there are other groups as well. You can just find the other groups in the link below, aka.ms slash learning rooms. You can just connect to your learn experts and also with your peers to share your knowledge, discuss the things, and learn from each other and fix each other's issues. So it is Microsoft Fabric Cafe, over 4,000 members globally. It is a global community, and which we are focusing on Microsoft Fabric. We are providing learning and support to Fabric users in all levels, with having weekly sessions for those who doesn't know or you're new here. We have weekly sessions in Microsoft Fabric Cafe. We used to have in all Saturdays morning my time, but since May we decided to have the sessions in different time zones to accommodate more attendees as much as we can. And it is a forum for everyone to learn, share, and grow skills together. If you would like to be informed actually and have all of the announcements, you can just follow us on LinkedIn page. You can also be part of our meetup group. In that meetup group, you will be informed about the announcements of our sessions. That you can also rate the session that you're attending. Please do that. It is going to be very helpful, and it is the way that we understand how we are doing and what we can do better. And we have also a YouTube channel with the handler of at Microsoft Fabric Cafe, that you can just watch all the past sessions that we had with the other speakers in the past year, and also the upcoming ones, and you can just rewatch them for sure. There is a Microsoft community group for Microsoft Fabric Cafe that you can use that tiny URL, tinyurl.com/MS Fabric Cafe. Just feel free to join there as well. You can just start your discussion, ask for a solution, and you can also share your knowledge with them. You can write blogs and whatever that you would like to do in that group. So in our community, there's a code of conduct that we expect everyone who's attending adhering to these all of these standards that we have to have a positive community. Thank you very much in advance. The past week, actually, and last week, we had Andy Kotler in our cafe, who talked about actually Microsoft Fabric warehouses for DBAs. That was a fantastic, session. Some best practices and some stuffs related to how a database admin can work with the data warehouses. If you missed that, or you're new again, or you want to rewatch it, feel free to go in our YouTube channel. And for today we have another amazing speaker, Sumesh. It is very early for him where he lives. He lives in Germany, and it is 3 a.m. So thanks him in advance for making himself available. And Sumesh is going to walk us through, just Apache Airflow and how it can be, in integration with Microsoft Fabric. And I'm gonna just invite him to the stage to just let him talk about Apache Spark, Airflow, and Microsoft Fabric. Hey, Sumesh, how are you? You're on mute.
Okay.
Yeah.
The common problem.
No.
I'm good. Thanks for inviting me. First of all, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all the viewers across the globe. Um, it feels great presenting today with an interesting topic on one of the most beloved MS Fabric community platform. I have benefited a lot from this platform in past, and I feel good that contributing I'm contributing today and sharing my knowledge with all of you.
Which is very, very appreciated, to be honest. And Sumesh, as has been with our community, the community member actually since last year. And today he's contributing.
Right.
That is amazing. So, Sumesh, thank you again for joining at this early time, 3 a.m.
No
on your
problem.
end. It means a lot to us. And yeah, I'm gonna just hand over the session to Sumesh. Guys, if you have any question, feel free to write it in the comments, and they will be answered by Sumesh. It depends. If this can be answered right away, we can do that. Otherwise, it will be answered in the pauses that Somesh is going to
Yep.
make in between his presentation. So, Somesh, are you going to share your screen?
Yes.
Awesome. And
Then
then
let
I'm gonna
me.
hand over the session to you,
Okay.
and
Then,
sitting and enjoying my drink or coffee.
okay. So just give me a heads up once my screen is available.
Yes, it's there. And here you
Okay.
go. So
Okay.
just give me a sec. I'm gonna uh, make it a bit bigger for you. Uh, sorry. Awesome. Yeah. Here you go.
Okay.
And
Perfect.
guys, enjoy it.
Okay. Then, without uh, utilizing more time, I will jump straight to my introduction. My name is Sumesh Kashyap, as Mehrdad already introduced me. I have an experience of almost 13 years in IT industry. Worked with Tata Consultancy for almost a decade, and now I'm working with Nova Capta. It's a company based out of Germany, Cologne, and I'm working as a data architect. I'm a Microsoft certified professional, certified in Fabric, Power BI, and I have some fundamental certifications done on Databricks as well. Most of my experience, I have worked in the Microsoft universe only. And if we talk about data platforms, I worked on OLTP databases, SQL Server from Microsoft to Synapse, then to Azure Databricks, and now currently fascinated by Microsoft Fabric as well. And from past 1.5 years, I'm actively working on MS Fabric solutions. Um, not only just these data platforms, I have also some exposure on Microsoft Purview to have or to prepare some customer solutions like data cataloging or data governance solutions. Um, on personal front, in my free time, I really love to do cycling. This is something I really enjoy doing over the weekends. And apart from that, I love cooking and reading either history or some fantasy fiction. Okay, then we come to our today's agenda. So we are going to talk about a very quick introduction on Apache Airflow, understand a little bit of its history, um, high-level overview, and how it was introduced to MS Fabric world. Then we will understand how the Apache Airflow works. We'll do a very short demo as well. I will share some quick tips on setting it up and how we can avoid some common mistakes when configuring it. Um, I will share the use cases and pricing, which is the most important aspect for solutioning when we go for Apache Airflow. And also, if time permits, we will cover on a very high level how GenAI can help us in quick and smooth implementation of Apache Airflow on our data platforms. Although I have reserved time towards the end for Q&A, but just like Mehrdad mentioned, please feel free to put your questions within the chat. I'll try to answer them as soon as I encounter them, or maybe in between some slides, I will take few pauses for a question. So with that, let's get started on Apache Airflow lesson 101. So Apache Airflow is one of the most famous open source platform which data engineers all around the world are using to author, schedule, and monitor workflows. It is mainly utilized by data engineers for orchestrating their data pipelines. And they can simply develop their data pipelines by programming in Python, create some tasks, give them a sequence of execution, and just like other software development practices, the data engineer can easily monitor their execution. They can do version control using Git or Azure DevOps repos, uh, however they prefer. So you can think of Azure Data Factory or data pipeline from Fabric, but rather than dragging and dropping the predefined activities, we are writing code here. It was conceptualized by Airbnb in 2014 when they wanted to manage the increasing complexity in their workflows. But after almost 1 year, it was made open source. And since then, it has been actively being used by many big organizations in almost all the domains, whether it's from banking, retail, manufacturing, pharmaceuticals. So it's being utilized almost in every next data platform. Um, Apache Airflow is a go-to tool if you want to orchestrate a really complex workflows. And I am stressing on the word complex workflow, and you will see this is something I will be mentioning a lot during this whole slide. And you will understand the reason why when in the next slides and when we will be doing a short demo. One important thing here is that Apache Airflow is Apache Airflow comes as a solution where you need to set up an infrastructure. You can do it on any cloud services or use a Docker image and set up and configure your Airflow on it. There are players, there are options like Astronomer, which provides SaaS version, but most commonly or most famous version is the one where developers have to set up the infra by themselves. So why it has been so popular among data engineers, especially who want to use the uh, open source for their data orchestration. So developers who love Python, they will not need any excuse to love Airflow, because if you're comfortable on Python, writing or a workflow on Apache Airflow comes very naturally. Currently, Apache Airflow supports only Python as a programming language. And there are, unlike Apache Spark, there is no option of Scala or SQL or other options. So it's just pure Python. And the development um, arena is very similar for Python developers, apart from the workflow definitions or the workflow templates, which are more or less standard. From from UI perspective, although you don't get the building blocks like predefined activities which you can drag and drop on a canvas, connect them and run a workflow, you have to write a code. But once you have written a code, a piece of code, then you can simply execute it, and the tasks are generated into a flowchart, which during an execution gives a clear picture to the person who is monitoring or the developer, that how each and every task is getting executed. So in sense of monitoring, the UI provided by this platform is really good. Um, the other benefit of Apache Airflow is its robust integration. The number of providers or modules which Apache Airflow offers is insane, which makes it very easy to integrate with different systems and then orchestrate. Airflow, I would say, is data agnostic, which means it can orchestrate pipelines on any platform, whether it's Databricks based execution, Databricks based a job, or it's ADF pipeline, and even regardless of the storage solution, whether you choose a vector database for your generative AI use case, or you choose your favorite RDBMS, let's say Oracle, you can integrate it, set it up with a minimal effort. Uh, Being open source make this platform quite mature, stable, and you will find an active community to exchange ideas or perform troubleshooting. And probably this is the reason why it is said that open source is the king. In the previous slide, we talked about that there is a need. In most of the cases, there is a need to set up an infrastructure for Apache Airflow, which sometimes is painstaking task. Because not only you have to spend an effort in setting up the environment, but also a continuous effort is required in maintaining that platform, doing monthly upgrades or installing patches, etc., etc. So, what if I tell you that Microsoft Fabric can solve this problem by providing Apache Airflow as a software as a service? So, maybe some of our viewers already know that few months back, Apache Airflow was made generally available for all the users across all the geographies. And now they can install, or I would say they can create Apache Airflow based jobs by simple button clicks. And you just need a couple of clicks to set up their Airflow jobs. And they don't have to worry about the infrastructure. They don't have to worry about maintaining the underlying platform. All they need to think about or plan about is the design of the workflow and what amount of compute power they will be needing. And this is the reason I would call this as the best union in Microsoft Fabric universe, because now the developers can focus more and more on workflow development and worry less about maintenance overhead. Um, the integration of Apache Airflow with Microsoft Fabric is so seamless that leveraging Fabric components like Lakehouse, notebooks, or data warehouse is very easy. And on top of that, you have an benefit of using scalable and elastic compute, which has a very high availability. And this is the reason that the combination of Airflow-based Pythonic workflows and Fabric's unified environment, this combination gives you a data platform which can achieve a lot for end users or the business users who are creating their data use cases on it. Okay, so I will now go to next slide to understand on very high level that how Airflow works. So Airflow orchestrates the workflow defined in Python DAGs. DAGs basically stands for direct acyclic graphs. Um, in this DAGs, we schedule some tasks. Those tasks are then triggered on the scheduled time. And at that particular time, the workers are assigned to those tasks, which execute them, and the whole progress can be monitored via web UI. What exactly is DAG? DAG stands for, like I said, Directed Acyclic Graph. And the reason it got this name is that directed means that the task moves only in one direction, and it basically means it goes in forward direction. Acyclic means that there cannot be loops. A task cannot move first ahead, then go back to previous task, then move ahead and act in a loop. So that is not possible. And the whole representation of the execution can be easily done in a graphical form. So that's why it's generally called a tag. Um, a DAG generally consists of tasks, a multiple tasks, or there could be a single task, and those tasks are defined using some operators. And once those tasks are defined, then we define the sequence and their dependencies. So maybe I can quickly show you how the generic code looks like. So I'll simply zoom in. Just like your standard Python coding in Airflow DAGs, you also start with importing standard libraries. You make sure that you import at least one operator, which you will be utilizing as a task. Then you define a tag. Just give it a name. You define a schedule interval. It could be daily, hourly, and so on. And then you, like we said, we import an operator, and using that operator, we define some task. Could be running a notebook, could be running a pipeline, and then we define the order in which the execution needs to happen. So this is a very simplified example, but you might get a gist of it, that how the execution happen. Um, I would wait uh, if there are any questions. Okay, I don't see any, so maybe move to next slide. Sometimes the terminologies like DAG, operator, etc., can be a bit confusing. So to make it stick to my mind, I use an analogy that, and that is something I can share with you as well, so that it's less confusing and less overwhelming. Since I love cooking, this analogy came very easily to my mind. You can think of Apache Airflow as running a restaurant where DAG could be compared with a recipe, which has a clear step-by-step process of how to conduct um, your workflow. And it will consist of many tasks. Tasks could be something like boil water, cook pasta, chop the vegetables, etc. And then you define the dependencies, or basically the order, how the task would be carried out. So if I take this example, we have a step one in which you cook pasta, and step two would be saute vegetables, and then you mix pasta and veggies. Yeah, so there's a unidirectional in the forward direction execution of tasks. It doesn't have to be every task needs to run sequentially. Um, some tasks can run in parallel as well. So for an example, you can, if you have two burners, you can cook pasta and saute vegetables in parallel. And once both are ready, then you mix them together. And that's when the dependencies comes in. Yeah, you cannot mix pasta and veggies before the pasta is cooked. So um, you have tasks, you can define the order of execution. It, certain things can run in parallel, but you don't run in the loop. Then comes a scheduler. As it can be considered as when a chef decides. Uh, yeah, thanks for pointing out, Ganeshan. Step three is missing. I'll definitely correct that. Basically, I think it's uh, wrong number mentioned here. It's a step two and step three, um, and then step four. Coming to scheduler, it's when the head chef decides when to start each recipe. And this is an important part. It's when to start each recipe, and recipe is your DAG. So a scheduler is where you defined when your DAG will be running. It's not for the tasks, but for the whole DAG. And operator is basically your tools. Um, when which you will be using for each task. So if you have to chop vegetables, you might be using a big knife. So that is going to be your operator. So I hope this analogy makes sense to you. And if yes, then we will jump to a short demo. In the demo, we will a very high-level overview. We'll just talk about what are Apache Starter and custom pool, how the Apache Airflow job can be created, a sample Hello World code, but we'll also run a real life code, not just a Hello World, but a real life code, how the output can be seen, how the diagraphs looks like, and how the connections can be created. So I will reshare my screen. Moment, please. I hope you can see a browser on my screen. Can and
Yes, Sumesh, we are seeing your
the browser, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So this screen might be quite familiar to you. This is a workspace, and Apache Airflow basically is an entity which you define at the workflow level. In the very first thing, whenever you have to see Apache Airflow jobs, you go to the workspace settings and you go to the data factory and click on Apache Airflow runtime. And here you will be able to see default pools. So I have created some my custom own pools, and you have the ability to create them on your own. Um, but this, even if you don't have any custom pool, you will always have a starter pool. Uh, a starter pool is basically by default provided, or Microsoft provided a pool which is always available. By available means that whenever you will have a workspace, by default you will have a starter pool, and it is generally of the size large. And you cannot change the size of it; it's disabled for you. But you can create custom pool. Let me click on one. So let's say I create one test pool, and I can decide whether I want a node of large or small, and I want to enable auto scale or not, and how many extra nodes I would need on top of the pool. So minimum you have 0, maximum you have 8. And after that, you just simply create it. The benefit of using starter pool is um, it has auto pause ability. The turn on time is very less. If I recall correctly, it's about 2 minutes. For custom pool, the startup time is more, I think around 5 to 7 minutes. But they don't turn off automatically if the system is idle. So that means if you left it on, it will keep on consuming your compute unit. So you will have to be very careful when using a custom pool. So if not in use, pause it or switch to a different capacity, or whatever better way you are governing your workspace cost. So that was about custom pool. And then how do you create an Apache Airflow job? You simply click on new item, search for Apache Airflow job, and you click. Yeah, so let's name it demo. And if I click create, it will be created immediately. So that's it. You have your Apache Airflow job defined. You will have two folders, one for DAG, another is one for plugins, and all the code you will be writing or all the workflows you will be creating will be in DAGs. All the custom connections or webhooks which you will be using, they can be utilized in plugins. So let's say if I have to create a sample workflow, let me call it tag first. Click on create, and it will create a tag for me. And it's simply a hello world program. It's similar to the example I showed earlier. We started with importing some libraries. Most importantly, we have one bash operator, and then we defined just one task. That's a hello world. We called it in the dependency, and we simply run it. So since I created a new DAG, it will take some time for the pool to get started, and you can monitor it. Okay, you can generally monitor it from here, but it's okay. We'll go back to our workspace. I already have one uh, job created. I even turned it on before starting this session, so we'll have a look at it. So what it can do. Okay. Okay. All right. So okay, it's also stopped. Okay, I think it auto paused. No problem. We'll simply resume it. It will be turned on in 2 to 5 minutes. While it is started, I will probably go through the code and on a very high level explain what it is doing. So you start by importing an operator, and here we wanted, the objective was that we run a notebook, and after running a notebook, we run a some pipeline. Yeah. So since both of these are fabric items, a notebook and the pipeline, we will import a fabric run item operator. Once done, then we will define a default arg, and these are some default values which you want to assign to your DAG. So for example, if there is an failure, do you want to send an email or no? How many retries you want to do if something fails? What should be the start date of your DAG workflow? Um, and um, and then you pass it to your DAG. So when you define your DAG, you give it some ID, you give it a schedule interval, and start date again if you haven't given anything in default, then you will have to definitely define it here. Otherwise, it will pick it from default. Catch up generally means that if you have defined a start date of past. So for example, I defined a start date of last week. Then if catch-up is true, that means it will have to run all the um, past events as well. So since my schedule interval is daily and it is like 5 days ago, then this workflow will be executed 5 times for each particular day. Then we define our tasks using the operator. We give it every task must have an ID. Then you need to give it a connection, and this is very important part. Um, when you give a connection, it's basically you are passing um, authorization details so that your Apache Airflow can access your notebook or pipeline and then act on it. We'll discuss this part in detail as well. And then you have to define the workspace and the item ID. Uh, and the type of the job. If it's a notebook, you use run notebook. If it is a pipeline, you use pipeline. That's a common mistake. For notebook, it is run notebook, but for pipeline, don't use run pipeline, just use pipeline. Um, and then you define the order. So this bit operator tells you the direction of the execution of the tasks. Let's see if it is up. No, it is not. Then what else we can do? I can show you probably connections. No, I can't show you until this is up. Okay, maybe we have any questions. I'll have a look. Okay, there's a question from Rajkumar. Okay, that's a good
Yeah,
question
there's a question.
from Rajkumar. So we'll cover this in upcoming slides as well. But to give you a quick answer, you can always use data pipelines to orchestrate if you don't want to use Airflow, or if you don't want, or if the data engineer is not very comfortable in Python, they can always use the data pipelines, which works exactly the same way as Azure Data Factory. I hope that answers the question.
So, Sumesh, while
Yeah,
we are waiting for this, execution to be actually this pull to be started, uh, so far let me just bring it back. So far, I understood that Apache Airflow in Fabric is doing the similar thing what it is done in pipeline,
exactly.
right? In the sorry, in the pipeline itself, that you can create an or just orchestrate some tasks for copy data, for executing the notebook and
Yeah,
things, right?
absolutely.
And yeah, and so what is it something that we can connect to outside of Fabric, in another Fabric capacity or Fabric tenant, let's say, or somewhere else, to just orchestrate it from there?
Absolutely,
Is it something that
absolutely,
we can use
and
it
and
for?
that's the you actually touched the core of this topic. That what would be the use cases when I have to think, let's go to Apache Airflow, not to the Fabric pipeline. So as I was mentioning in one of my, I think, first or second slide, Airflow, just being an open source, has very rich number of your connectors or modules. So even if you, let's say, if you have to run an Azure Databricks notebook, yeah, or you have to get connect to um, some totally different database, which is not part of your Azure ecosystem. Let's say your Oracle database on premises, you can connect very easily with Apache Airflow. Of course, it can be done with data pipelines as well. Um, but the library which Apache Airflow provides, it's very rich. I know there are many options right now, like mirroring, shortcuts, which Microsoft is trying to catch up um, to make the integration really easy and simple for the data engineers. But Apache Airflow has been a established orchestrator for almost 1 decade. So that makes its library very rich and at the same time very mature and stable.
I see. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
answering.
So while we wait
So,
for this to be up, let's move to next slides. And once it is up, I'll come back to it. Anyway, I had a GenAI based demo as well, so I will do the remaining part, the execution and the GenAI based demo together, to maybe towards the end.
no problem.
Okay, then. Okay. Um, Talking about how to set up authentication. So when I was saying that the experience of creating a workflow on Apache Airflow was very smooth, it truly was, except for the part where I had to set up authentication. And this is the area which I felt is not so straightforward. You cannot blindly follow the MS Learn article and set up the connection easily unless you have a good understanding of topics like how the service principle works, how the request as authorization on browser work, or how you can generate an access token and refresh token. And then based on a refresh token, you establish a connection. Um, um, so when anyone has to set up an authentication, I highly recommend that if you're not very well familiar with these topics, so just brush them up uh, from MS Learn blog or some YouTube videos. They are not very complex. It's just you must be aware of the sequence of the event, how what step comes first, what step comes second, and then you just follow them, and then it will be very easy to set up the authentication. And the other thing is that I personally feel that currently the authorization is right now being done by a service principal and then generating an access token. It it in future will become very easy and straightforward once Microsoft probably introduces a managed identity for Apache workflow as well. I hope it will happen soon, but I don't have any uh, figure I didn't found any information whether exact timeline. But till that doesn't happen, we have only one option of using service principles. So I'll briefly explain how the steps or how the process works. So the very first step is that you have to create a service principal in your Microsoft Entra, and then add that service principal to your uh, workflow. And you need to give it at least a contributor permission. Um, you might face a problem if you have not enabled at the tenant level to allow service principals to be added. So if you already are the admin of a tenant, great. If you are not, make sure to remind your administrator that they should enable this feature. Once you have added the service principal, then based on you generate basically a browser-based access request based on the service principle you have. And it's probably I should show you. Just give me a moment. I think it would be, I think, better if I show you the step. Can you see on browser a Microsoft Learn page?
yes, we can see
Okay,
that.
perfect. So once you have generated, like I said, once you have granted service principal the access, then you in browser send a request like this. Yeah. So what it is, it's nothing. You mention your tenant ID, you mention your client ID, and redirect URI, and this is the standard values which your service principal will provide. And when you will enter this in your browser, you will get a pop-up like this, and you just need to accept it. If you do not have admin access on your tenant, you can create this URL, send it to your administrator. He or she can enter it in their browser and approve it, and then share a code with you. Uh, Once they will authorize, the output will be something like this. Yeah. I'm assuming this is your redirect URL. This is something which is of use to you, the code part, and they will share it with you. And this code is valid generally for 1 hour. And you make sure that you take this code, then use a tool like Postman or any tool of your choice which you use for REST API. You enter this code into the code verifier and use all other values same, like your client ID, which you used previously, scope, which you used previously, redirect URI, same as earlier, and you click OK, and you will get an access token. So you don't use access token, but you use refresh token. So access token generally expires very soon, I think after 15-20 minutes, but refresh token does not. So this is something you use as a password. Where do you use it? You use it in the connection details. I hope you can see in, yeah, you use in the connection details, which I will show you once my server is up, and you use it as a password. Some common mistakes you might see, which you might make, is I'll point them out to you. For example, you see here the scope here, it's HTTPS, then percentage sign. Make sure this does not have percentage sign. It should be the raw URL, not the encoded one. So this is one common mistake. I think this is something Microsoft should correct. And there are some other mistakes as well, which I made during my journey. I will share probably a link in the chat. I have uh, I have logged all common mistakes which can happen and how you can correct it. And I'll probably share Mehrdad with you, and then we can post it in
No
this
problem. Yeah.
recording. Okay, then let me see if um, the environment is up.
Yeah. Is it still running or?
Uh,
A question for you,
yeah,
Sumesh. Regarding this, authentication
right.
stuff. You have it open here.
Yeah.
The question that I have, if we want to execute this, the pipelines and notebooks in the same tenants, do we have to also, do that authentication and getting the token stuffs?
Yeah. Yeah. We have to. So
How
it's
come? Why is there
right.
anything in the roadmap for getting it resolved because they're running in
Yeah.
the same tenants?
Exactly. That's very natural to ask, and that's why I was saying that once they have a managed identity enabled, then we will not have to do all this stuff. Right now, authentication is a bit complicated. It's still doable, but you will have to spend some time. But once the managed identity option is available for authentication, then we will not have to worry about taking care of so many
Yeah,
steps,
exactly.
generating token and so on. I heard, I mean, I read it on some article that Microsoft is already working on it. Probably before end of the year, it will be available, but there was no
For
confirmation.
the managed
Yeah,
identity. Yeah.
yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah. Good
Okay.
point.
So then I will quickly show you how connections look like. So connections are basically what options you have available or as a modules. So you can see you have an options to connect with Databricks, Cassandra, and so on. And here is the one where we are interested, and this is Fabric connection. And when you're making this connection, your login is your service principal. Password, like I said, it's your refresh token. And this is standard, something like, yeah, this doesn't change. Going back here, we'll simply run this tag and we'll see what happens. So it's going to run my notebook first and my data pipeline. My notebook could be a complex notebook. It could have a transformations, data quality checks, etc., so on. And my pipeline could be just move the data from one place to another. Um, this is just a sample code. I wanted to keep it very simple for the demo, but this, like I said, since you have an option to write a Python code, you can achieve any level of complexity here. Okay, so you can monitor your tasks from here, but you can also monitor your tasks from your native Apache Airflow graph. So when you click there, you generally come to this screen, and you see here, I can see even my historical data, how the things have been, and these color codings basically denote whether it was successful or a failure. So dark green means it was successful, and the red, yeah, it failed, and the lighter green is that it is running. So my notebook has successfully completed. So it says it here, and if I go here, yeah, I see it's succeeded. The benefit of using this UI is that you get more detailed information. So when I was saying in my previous slide that you cannot drag and drop your data pipelines like you do in Azure Data Factory, but when you monitor your code, the execution of your tasks, then you will have a graphical representation. So we defined in our code that first a notebook will run, then the pipeline will run. And here you can see it shows me the same sequence. And if I will define a really complex structure here, I will see the exact flow chart or the diagram of this execution. Okay, so we are at least done with the first part of our demo. I'll go and check if we have questions.
So there's no question so far. Thank you for your brief
Okay,
explanation.
then uh, we'll quickly jump to next slide. Okay, and this is the most important part, making the orchestration choice. Yeah, I think the previous question from Raja as well. What is the alternative? Alternative is only Fabric data pipelines, but when to choose a data pipeline, when to choose an Apache Airflow. So if my design has to be a low-code based solution, then Fabric data pipeline is the best solution. If we have to go for a code first, then shift to Apache Airflow. If we are going to fully SaaS managed model, then Fabric data pipelines. Apache Airflow is also SaaS managed, yeah, like we saw. But here we have one added advantage that we can scale up the nodes. Like I showed you, we can choose either a small or a medium node, and we can, small and medium pool, and then we can add nodes on top of it if required. Um, in data pipelines, you can't do so. You will have to shift your capacity up or down. Yeah, but here within the same capacity, you can up and down your nodes or your pool. Fabric data pipelines are really good when it comes to the deep Microsoft Azure integration or a Fabric. There are options to connect with some uh, SAP BW or Snowflake or Databricks, etc. as well. Some through mirroring, some through um, uh, their Gen 2 pipelines and many other options. Um, but Apache Airflow has a very, very rich library. So if you will go to the Apache official library, search on the modules available, it's a huge list, and most of them are really, really stable. Um, it's very good if you're writing a standard ETL and ELT, you choose Fabric Data Pipelines. But if you are going for complex workflow, Apache Airflow must be the best choice because you have an option to define programmatically different conditions, different tasks, and so on. One challenge with Fabric Data Pipelines is that they have limited activities or expressions, and the flexibility is not so high. So just to give you an example, let's say I have a situation when I am trying to copy data from a source system, and if I don't, if I get an error, like let's say 404, like system is not available, or 500 something, then I wait for some time and then try to reach it again. So yes, this is doable in data pipeline. You have wait activity, uh, but what if I have to, let's say, first wait for 10 seconds, then wait for 40 seconds, then 80 seconds. Let's say I have to wait in an order where the time is increasing on an exponential range. Yeah, that's not something you can easily do in data pipelines, but it's very easy to do um, in Apache Airflow because you just have to write 2 or 3 lines of codes. Similarly, if I give you another example, like AND operator, um, the AND operator in data pipelines currently use only 2 arguments. It cannot take a third argument. So if you have to check status of any activity, yeah, using an AND operator, you can do it only for uh, 2 activities. For the third one, you may have to do a workaround, maybe nesting. Um, it's essentially you will be able to do it with a workaround, but with Apache Airflow, you don't have to think about workarounds. You can simply write a simple logic and achieve the target. Then comes the development style. So if the organization is more oriented to citizen data engineers or data analysts who prefer UI-based development, then data pipelines is the best solution. But if the data engineers are more comfortable with Python, then you go with Apache Airflow. Standard use cases for data pipelines is that standard ETL, ELT transformations, ingestions to lakehouses, warehouses. So essentially all Medallion architectures can be easily achieved by data pipelines. But when your workflow changes from standard Medallion to more complex, then Apache Airflow is a better option, especially when you're working on MLOps pipelines. It's the most preferred tool because your data scientists are already writing notebooks using Python, and they prefer to use the same programming language to orchestrate as well. And the last point, like Amridad, you mentioned, it actually allows you to orchestrate external systems as well due to its rich library. Coming to next slide, the pricing. So the pricing is based upon the consumption unit um, of your fabric capacity. So if you choose a small pool, the consumption unit would be 5 per hour. And if you choose a large, then it would be 10. If you add nodes to it, then like for small, it is zero point 0.6 and for large, it is 1.3. Important thing here to note, if you choose a pool size of small, you have to add nodes of small only. You cannot add nodes of large. So, you do the calculation according to pool, the size you choose for the pool. So to take an example, let's say if we have a task which executed for 1 hour, it has one small pool and two nodes. Obviously, they will be small. Then the cost will be uh, five, uh, five small, and twice the node size of zero point 0.6. So it will come to 6.2 CUs. Okay, and
Uh, Sumesh,
before I move
while you're
further, yeah,
on
yeah,
the pricing section, I have a question
yeah,
for you. In comparison with pipelines, is there any price difference between these two? If we go with pipeline, it is going to be more expensive, or and if we just compare it
yeah,
with Apache Airflow
yeah.
orchestrator, have you
My
read about that?
yeah, I
Or
when I was doing some proof of concepts, I realized that if you have a fairly standard ETL process, Apache Airflow might be more costlier than your data pipelines. It only is more cost effective when you have, I would say, a complex workflow, or you're doing some MLOps pipeline. And also you can think in a way, think it in a way that your cost in Apache Airflow is based upon the hours or the minutes the pool was up. So it doesn't matter how many tasks you finished in that duration. So it's all about the minutes the pool was running. So let's say if you're able to run all your tasks in 30 minutes, whether it's 10,000 or whether it is 1,000, uh, that is one factor. But in data pipelines, your cost is not on how many hours your data pipeline were running, but how many times they executed.
Mhm.
Right? So that's why the cost comparison become bit difficult. But my experience was that if you have a situation where you are running some complex workflows, and then you choose Apache workflow, and also if you are running a certain data activity again and again and again in Fabric data pipelines, then you might be spending more cost there, and you can think to achieve the same thing using Apache Airflow, because repeating a task does not have a high or a huge cost implication, as long as you can finish them effectively in a shorter duration or a limited duration.
Yeah, I see. I see. So it really depends on the use case. How complex is it? Is it
Right.
straightforward or not? How many nodes you need to execute it?
Exactly.
Yeah, and it is going to be a bit maybe challenging when you're working with notebooks. The notebooks are already using some basically resources for Spark. And maybe, I'm not sure even if it's going to be feasible to do those notebook stuffs in Apache and make
Yeah,
it cheaper. I don't know. We need to just have maybe another session to just walk through the pricing stuffs and the best practices for pricing.
right.
But yeah, sorry to keep you waiting
No,
for
no
this
problem. I,
concept.
I I
Yeah.
think that's an important part, and that's why I also wanted to touch this pricing topic, because this is something which hasn't been explored too much. Um, the feature came in really recently, and people are still adopting it. And I think whatever information is there is based upon a proof of concepts people have done. Like I did some analysis, so I realized that Apache Airflow uses a really high number of consumption units, but that makes sense if you are running an really complex workflow, because if you will try to implement the same thing using data pipelines, first thing that might not be very easily feasible, or the other thing would be um, the data pipeline might not run the complex workflow in a very efficient way, which you can do in Apache Airflow. So yes, you summed it in a right
I
way that
see.
it depends upon the use case.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you. Yeah. Keep going.
Yeah. So then I think we are almost done for the session, except the Gen AI part, which is an exciting and how much time do we have, Mirdad?
Uh, to be honest, we are already actually past
Then
the
uh,
hour, but I don't know how long you're gonna
I
need
can
for
try
the
to, yeah, I
Gen
can try
AI.
to do it in 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So let me make it more bigger for you, and this is a code.
yeah. So, what was the one challenge we see with Apache Airflow is that people who are doing, let's say, a UI based or developing workflows on UI, they might not very easily transition to Apache Airflow. So to make things easier for them, here is a use case. Let's say you are in a workshop. You decide with your team that you want to build a pipeline. So you write it on a paper or you put it on a whiteboard, a text or boxes how you want to run your pipeline. So you want to start, you want to, the first step you want to do is ingest from uh, Azure, sorry, you upload local files to Azure blob storage, that's your bronze layer, and then you analyze those pipelines using Azure Data Factory. You give that pipeline a certain name. If it is successful, you send an email. If it is a failure, then you send an email to different team, and then you stop the workflow. So I have it written on the paper. Can I convert it into Python code or Apache Airflow code? Yes. So there is already a standard code provided by Microsoft. I just see, the code provided by Microsoft is something which basically runs on the fabric itself, but and use Apache Airflow job. But if you don't want to set up an Apache Airflow job and run it every time to generate a dynamic code, you can set it up locally. And that's what I have done it. I made some small changes, small tweaks to it. So what I'm trying to do is the first step would be that we create a model in Azure AI Foundry. It could be any small model, ChatGPT, Azure AI GPT-4o mini, or without mini, or it could be O3 as well. And based on that model, you just bring in the endpoint. It should look like a URL like this. And then you bring in the API key and you put your the diagram image in your directory, and you simply run the code. So if it runs successfully, it will generate a Python code, which will include all the providers, all the operators which you will be using. It will define the DAG, the tasks, and then the order as well. So this way you can easily create some templates, and you will just need to update the task IDs, some certain paths, and then you can use your code directly into Microsoft Fabric, Apache Airflow jobs.
Do we have something, that do it vice versa to generate
We can.
the diagram for us or not?
I can write a code for that. Of course,
Yeah,
that
that
can be
would be,
done.
a good, I think, initiative actually, to create just for maybe for the documentation. You're
Yeah.
gonna there might be some stuff
Oh,
like
yeah,
that,
definitely. Yeah, it's
for
definitely
Apache
possible.
Airflow jobs. That. Oh, sorry.
Uh,
Mm,
I will just have to change the prompt here. So if my you see my current prompt, it basically says that you will be given an image and you turn that image into code. So I'll try to just turn it around and then make it that instead of image, you will be getting a
that would be
code,
good.
make an image for it. So yeah, this is doable.
You know,
Yeah.
AI and
Um,
it's changing everything.
right.
It's good. I love it.
I will share the GitHub code path and the blog which I was mentioning in the chat. So please feel free to use it, share your feedback, and like Mehrdad, you mentioned, I'll prepare something to reverse the stuff as well soon.
Yeah, you can even, Sumesh, you can share the links here and then I can
Okay,
just show them on the screen to be showable. However,
let me do that right away.
when we share the recording with community, you can just feel free to add those, GitHub links and whatever that link that you want to share with attendees, they can access them. So thank you very much, Sumesh. It was really interesting topic, and we have learned a lot from you. Just let me. Oh, it is okay. I'm gonna just copy this to the chat, and it will be available on our YouTube channel. So of course you're not going to read it from me like this, but you're gonna just access that in on our YouTube channel. Cool. So the session with Sumesh is done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if guys, you joined late, or missed part of that, or you want to rewatch it, it is going to be available on YouTube channel for sure, and you can just rewatch it later. Our next session will be with Marcus next week on my Friday, on June. Oh, sorry, no, my Saturday. My apologies. My Saturday on June 21st at 7 a.m. Pacific time. Marcus is going to, walk us through DAX, and maybe for uh, beginners that they need to learn early. And again, our social, info, where you can just watch and rewatch all of the past session on YouTube channel, on LinkedIn page. We do all of the announcements and about the community, about Microsoft Fabric and Microsoft Learn, and the Microsoft community group. Feel free to join us there in the tiny URL /MS Fabric Cafe. and also the meetup. Just don't forget to rate today's session, and then we can just learn what we can do better. Sumesh, thank you very much again for being here. And now it is 4:30 or 5 a.m. on your end,
Yeah, thank
and
you
I'm not
for
sure if you're
inviting
gonna have
and
your coffee or if you wanna just go for a walk, early morning walk. But however,
definitely,
enjoy your day. And guys, if there is any question, feel free to reach out to Sumesh.
of
You
course.
can just ping him and under the post of this recording, and the post on LinkedIn for sure. And I'm sure he's going to answer your questions with that regard.
Yeah, definitely. Then I wish everyone a nice weekend. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Have a good one. Cheers.